What is up, everybody? Welcome to Gate 7 International. I'm your host, Adi, rolling solo today, boys and girls. We'll see if that continues later into the show, but rolling solo. If you haven't done so already, please don't forget to like and subscribe. We're on a mission at Gate 7 International, and you should be on that same mission too. And that mission is to make the best red and white community and Greek football community that exists out there. Not only do we want it to be the best, but we want it to be the biggest as well. Olympiacos is a big club, a European club, and it's about goddamn time the world saw it too. So hit that button, get your friends to hit that button, and help us make the best red and white community that you've ever seen. Boys and girls, before we get started into the post-match with OFI, there was some lovely, lovely stuff going on by A1 Kostas Fortounis. Ladies and gentlemen, he's back in his second game. He looked fantastic. He wasn't the most aggressive player on the field, but man, do I miss watching him play. He had a goal on his return, and then on the game that he just had against Apollon Larissa, may not have had a goal, and Olympiacos B might have lost that game, but Costa looked pretty good. I mean, it just comes easy to him. It's amazing. I miss having him. I know you guys do. I already see it in the comments. I'm glad he's back. I'm not advocating that we rush him back. I do want to see him in the first team because I think if we're going to have a successful preseason, he needs to get some first team games. But man, it's good to see him back. For those of you that maybe didn't see the stat cards that we put up, let's just put it this way. He accounted for the majority of Olympiakos' chances. Total XG 1.69. His XG in terms of total goal contribution, expected contribution, was 1.15. He did everything. And we're not even seeing him in his best form. He's still coming back. So really excited, really, really pumped to see Costa back. I really hope that sooner rather than later. But again, at the behest of whoever the doctors are. I don't want to rush him back, and I know you guys don't either. Thank you guys for tuning in so far. Spiro7, Costadino from Kalamata. Good to see you guys again. Love everybody that's tuning in. It's a little bit of a late night episode. We do apologize. Some scheduling issues, but hey, whenever we can get this thing done, we're going to go live and speak to you guys. Pretty soon, I'm going to be dropping a link. So if you want to jump on the pod, you want to share some thoughts, whether it's about the game, whether it's about other things related to Olympiacos, please check that link out. I'll be dropping it in the comments soon. Sun Goku, can we get the number 7 from Henry back to Fortuny? Bro, I'm there with you. And I already saw a couple of people in Greece saying that Henry Onyekuru is going to be transfer listed this summer. I would have preferred earlier or not even take him. I don't know if you guys remember that deep dive. I was not a fan of Onyekuru in the deep dive, but it is what it is. We made the mistake. Now we have to live with it, and we have some big changes. Costa talked about that in the post-match episode with Atalanta in some real talk that was needed. So a lot of stuff needs to be done, and there will be plenty more times where we get into it. As far as Koundé from Kostadinos, what is going on with Koundé? Look, guys, that was an interesting transfer. By all reports, all things we've heard, it was a Martins transfer. He wanted Koundé. I think it was a depth option, to be honest with you. There's no way he saw him as starting material. Um, I don't think he has much of a future at this club. It seemed like maybe he had something to offer early on in the fall, if you guys remember. He had some very solid substitute appearances. I did a whole pressing graph about how when he was jumping on the field, our press was doing better, our press was more intense. And then I don't know what happened. The last couple times we saw him on the field, he looked like he bulked up a little bit. And I don't just mean that he got fat. I mean, he looked like he put on some muscle, which is it can be a good thing usually, but it's a bad thing when it slows you down. And he just looked slow. He also just didn't seem like he had much of a touch. No idea what happened there. I think Kunde was also one of the guys that caught COVID. So I wonder if maybe that affected his fitness. It's a possibility. But anywho, moving on from those guys, there was a great game today. I know there are a lot of Olympiacos fans that get disenfranchised once the European journey ends. I understand that because it's not really special when you win in Greece. I get it. So sometimes it's hard to follow and people trail off from watching the club. But what's something that brings people back? What is something that can bring people back to watching the club? The answer is some really good football. And today was a much better performance than we're used to seeing. So that's one thing we had going for us today. Today was a much better performance, and there's no coincidence that we saw a much better performance with the inclusion of a couple of players. One was Gary Rodrigues, another one was Carvalho, who had some lovely plays, amazing, and another one, Fotis Kitsos. I got to say, I was pleasantly surprised. I was worried we wouldn't see him still the rest of the season. Project Nutsimikas, we heard. Project Nutsimikas. We need another Tsimikas. I thought for sure we weren't going to see him. Maybe once or twice, if that. But we saw him. And boy, did we see something great out of him today. We saw what he does that Oleg can't. And I'm not going to sit here and shit on Oleg because I think Oleg has improved for us, especially during the course of the year, ignoring the second half of the season, because since the restart, since the winter break ended, he hasn't been so good, but he has improved for us. And the guy, he works his ass off. He has the most minutes played on this team. I cut him a little slack. Lala, not so much. But man, you see what happens when you have a dynamic wing back when he has the ball at his feet. And Kitsos showed us that. A little bit extra, a little something we haven't really seen most of the season. For as great as Oleg can be defensively and as much effort as he gives, he doesn't have that little extra something that can really get us what we saw out of Kitsos today. I brought up Carvalho. Door on tour. Good to see you, my friend. Joao Carvalho was great today. A lot of people were asking how in God's name this player could not have had impact at Nottingham. I mean, today he looked incredible. He had some great touches, threaded the needle with a couple of balls downfield too. I mean, he was great. And I am really excited. Forget the rest of this season. I'm excited to watch him play this season. I hope he plays more. But boy, we are going to be fine at the number 10 position. I mean, I'm assuming Agibu Kamara is gone. All of our sources have told us that Agibu Kamara should be in England over the summer. There's enough interest. But with Carvalho, with Fortuny, guys, two dynamic 10s that can really, they just make it look easy. Carvalho was the same, just like Fortuny. He just made it look easy today. Some great one-touch balls, knew where everyone was. Such a silky touch on it too. I mean, I don't know what to say. I'm kind of speechless. Today was a performance I don't think we've seen for a while this season. I mean, we had a couple better performances leading up to the Atalanta game. And then I always think of the game, the 3-0 against Atromiros, the 3-0 against Olympiacos, where we looked pretty good, but not like this. The 1-2 touch pass and move. I mean, Son Goku, this was my favorite game in this season's team after Atalanta looks is back. Look, yeah, we've had some really low lows with this team this year. which is funny considering that we're undefeated. Oh, and by the way, boys, I forgot to mention at the start, plus 13, Balk drew against the Olympiacos. I'm not going to get into that. I could, but I'm not. I'm not getting into the rest of the game and the context there. And Ike demolished 3-0 at halftime against Panathinaikos. I saw the full-time score was still 3-0, but man. Title of the show today, league is over. It might not be plus 20 like it was last year, but guys, we're undefeated, playing shit, the worst we've seen in 4 years, playing the worst we've seen under this team, under Pedro Martins. Close to Besnik Hazi style performances. I say close because I still think Hazi was worse. If we start playing better, no. Sorry. Nobody's touching us. They couldn't catch us at our worst. No way they touch us at our best. Absolutely not. And I hope that this isn't just a one-off. I really do. I'm saying that I know it's OFI, and people have been saying that it's not, it's OFI. We need to, whatever. But guys, we've looked worse against worse. Let's be honest. Anyone remember the first game against Atromitos? Look how they've been. That's embarrassing. Panathinaikos, maybe, you know what? I think we should be doing better against them, but we struggled against them a couple games. They've you know what, upset some of the top teams, so maybe we can give a pass. But guys, there's just been some games that have been ugly. So even though OFI might not be the best team, we've looked uglier against worse. So I will take this performance and I will be excited about it because I think we haven't had a lot to be excited about this season. Costa talked about it, about the performances, even when we got some of the results in Europe. They weren't good, weren't sustainable. This is a performance where, you know what, the scoreline doesn't show that we drubbed them, literally. In the first half, did OFI cross the field more than 3 times? I don't think so. I think it was 2 or 3 times. They crossed midfield with the ball. This is a sustainable performance, though, because we play this game like this 9 more times. I guarantee you it's a 3-0, 4-0 win. Don't forget, guys, it might have been 2-0 full time, but there were 2 goals called back. So, hey, what can look? You got to have something to look forward to. We're out of Europe, and there's no excuses. There's no more excuses. I mean, we're going to have an early qualification campaign starting up again. We need to get this team playing right. It's the least we can do. It's the least we can do to get people still excited about this team. Some more comments coming in here. Sun Goku again. Kitsos, maybe the next Tsimikas. Look, they have been saying this is Project New Tsimikas. Project New Tsimikas. Okay. Now, 2 good performances isn't enough, obviously, for me to say he's the new Tsimikas. Did I see some similarities? Yeah. Did I see some things that were different? Also, yeah. I want to remind everybody, Tsimikas was better going forward than Oleg, but Tsimikas also didn't have the widest skill set when he would get forward. He was a pretty direct guy. You know what I mean? He could get forward, he could do a cutback, and that was it. He also didn't make a lot of mistakes. He didn't have as much flair as some people seem to be telling me out of nowhere. Our memories kind of seem to be washing away. Kitsos has flair. He was a winger first, which probably adds to that. So he might not be the new Tsimikas, but I think he's going to be better than, at the very least, better than what we have. Garci, I can only think about the transfer window in the summer. Yeah, man. Look, I understand. I brought that up earlier. People become disenfranchised after we get kicked out of Europe. I get it. Winning the league isn't as special. It's an expectation, and it's not as special as it once was. I get it. Trust me, I get it. I understand completely. George, the league is over. So what? Oh, my man, I loved you when you talked to Costa. Listen, guys, the link, I'm going to drop the link here. You want to share some thoughts? There it is. Join me here. I'm solo. Go ahead. Get on here. Might get weird, but we'll have a little fun. That's for sure. But going back to the game, look, before we went on that little tangent, we talked a little bit about Carvalho. We talked a little bit about Kitsos and Gary Rodrigues. I'll be the direct winger that we've probably needed most of the season. If only we could have had him healthy. Really, if only we could have had him healthy for longer. Maybe we could have done something against Atalanta. Maybe play him instead of Onyekuru. Maybe, but we'll see what happens. I mean, I hope Gary can stay healthy, and we'll see what happens in the summer. Comment from Cosadinos here. Man, I missed the 2019 Olympiacos. Just think briefly how strong we were on our home games. Tottenham 2-2, Bayern 2-3, but still felt like a win. And now we lose to Atalanta 0-3. Yeah. Costadino, my man. Everybody, this is exactly what we've been talking about. Costa brought it up in the last show as well. We've talked about it in other shows. Yeah. Look, we can compare this team. We can remember that team as much as we want. But right now, we don't have that team, you know? We're missing some core players that we never replaced. It could be on the scouting, you know? I'm sure scouting made some mistakes. I'm sure that the front office made some mistakes as well. Martins made some mistakes. The biggest mistake of that being that we never replaced our fullbacks. We never replaced Tsimikas, and we never replaced Omar. We've had a long time to properly replace them. We've had 2 seasons now. We've had 4 transfer windows to replace them, and we never did. Tsimikas arguably harder to replace than Omar. Omar, I've pointed out to people, especially in that last season with Omar, even maybe last season, last 2 seasons were not at the quality that we were used to from him, but they weren't bad either. Omar on his bad games, like Costa had said, was like a 6 or a 7. You know, he didn't have the highest ceilings when it came to performances, but he didn't have a low floor. He had a very high floor. And that's something we're missing. Kenny, too inconsistent. Had a decent game today. Too inconsistent. Oleg, we mentioned. Started as a center back. Also brought this up. In Porto Academy, he was a center back first. Became a left back. And we haven't had anybody to give him competition. Doesn't matter who it is. You always have to have competition or a backup for somebody, whether it's to rest them or to actually make them want to fight for their spot. You have to have it. And that's something that this club really screwed up. We screwed the pooch on 4 straight transfer windows. We really did. So that's something that this summer, for sure, has to be fixed, especially if Kitsos ends up not being what we want out of left back. Definitely is going to need something. Now we do have somebody already getting on. Garci, how are you doing, my man?
How are you?
I'm doing very well, very well. You joined Costa, I believe, as well in the post match for Atalanta.
Yes, I was there.
Yes.
Well,
Good to hear from you again. Well, let's look at the game. How'd you feel about the game today?
and nothing similar to Atalanta game, but
Right.
obviously, uh, but it happened something very similar in the way that one team was better and the game was there. Against Atalanta, it didn't matter the strategy, the lineup, the players. Atalanta's market value is 300 million. Ours is 100 million. And today our lineup was better. The quality of our players were better. The pressure was constant. Only one attempt of in the first half. And part of that, I'm very, as I said before, very proud of the handball team today.
I did see. I saw that. I saw your comment. I forgot to bring that up. Yes, I did not watch. I did not see the game, but go ahead. Tell everybody about the handball team.
No, 2 disallowed goals today. One Arabi and Masuras. um, it feels like Socrates maybe teach them how to jump.
Exactly. It was hilarious because the first one, the first goal that got called back was pretty obvious that it was a handball. I mean, if even if he didn't get called for the handball, it was very clearly a push off again with the center back. So that one understood. Now the second goal that got called back, I thought that was a little bit more subtle.
The second one was like Masura's. I don't know how to say, but like when some boys are like playing that game with another smaller boy, and you can you can reach the ball. And playing like you can't. I mean,
Yes, yes, yes. I see what you're saying. And it was I think I understood what he was trying to do with his body position, but
uh,
sometimes it doesn't work, and some refs especially are not as forgiving when it comes to certain mistakes like that. Even though the handball rule this year, for anybody that isn't aware, is a lot more lenient. It's not as strict as it was. Now they judge your body. Your hand can be up, but if the ref believes that the position it was in when it got hit and the position it was in before was natural, and that you couldn't have feasibly, that you weren't intentionally trying to move your hand in front of the ball or whatever, they sometimes can let it go. So the handball rule is a lot more lenient. So maybe if there was a different referee, maybe Masuras gets away with it. But today he didn't. And you know what? In the end, I don't think it really mattered. I mean, I never felt like OFI was going to do it. I mean, I never felt threatened by them, to be honest with you.
if if you knew how that handball rule is working here in Spain, you can't make it an idea. I mean, the press, I mean, the media
Right.
here, like the VAR in Spain. Well, we have here Real Madrid, but even in Spain, the people don't know how it works. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
and
Well, that's the
in Premier
complaint
League,
in a lot of leagues. Everyone's complaining about it. So
yeah,
it's really
in Spain,
bad.
it's very talk about a natural position, a natural jump, and how 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 it is a natural jump. It's with your arm being like Socrates, or
Right.
it, it cannot be explained.
Yeah. Look, one day, it'll be a lot of these things will be automated, and it won't be up to the refs opinion. I think it's we're getting closer and closer and closer to those days. The better technology gets with things like this, hopefully that won't be much of an issue anymore. But I hear what you're saying. My belief is that in if they can't do this right in England, if they can't do it right in Spain, if they can't get it right in Italy, I have no hope that Greece is going to get it right. So we just have to deal with it at that point.
In the next game, PAOK fans jumping into the pitch, but not with fire, like jumping. I mean, this is jumping. The next time the referee disallow a goal against PAOK, I mean, the PAOK president jumping into the pitch, like instead of a Ghana jumping, showing the
Yeah.
referee.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And maybe he'll have his gun with him again.
I hope so. That, no, that it's like every 2 weeks we have a new about the Greek league. That in Spain, it's commented about that. I mean the game PAOK Aris, that story I told,
Yeah.
but it's not only in Greece. In the Serbian league with the Red Star and Partizan, in there's a lot of leagues. You know, the Cypriot League.
Oh yeah,
That's like
that's really bad. No,
I
I hear you.
when I think about the when I think about the Cypriot League, I can only say poor Lovera. I'm sorry for him.
Well, Garcia, let's pull it back to the game today. Let's pull it back to the OFI game today. So you already said that this was a different feeling for you than Atalanta. We looked much better. I didn't bring up the press earlier. The press was really good today. I mean, it actually looked coordinated. We were pressing high, pressing often. That was great. Now, what did you think of Carvalho? We saw three kind of different, three players playing that weren't part of some previous performances, whether it was injury or because they're not in the list. Fotis Kitsos on the left back, Carvalho played in the midfield, alternating between it looked like a wider position and central position, and then we had Gary Rodrigues. How'd you feel about them today? Did you like how they played?
First with Carvalho, I didn't expect much from him because of the team he was before. I mean, I told Costa that we need players from a higher division, uh, bringing players from Championship. I told Nottingham Forest, Marinakis team, but today, obviously Carvalho impressed me. Maybe against Atalanta wasn't his opportunity to shine, but today it's I think it's necessary for players like Carvalho and Kitsos to explore their abilities, uh, show them into the game against teams like OFI, like Asteras, Atromitos, and maybe the next year on Europa League or something, they could show what they learned in these games. In
Right.
Carvalho right now is made for these kind of games, and it's the same with Kitsos. Maybe it's too early for thinking about the next Simicas, uh, but I prefer to have as more Greek players as possible, and I'm very classic in in that aspect. But Kitsos is young. Uh, he has today he played well, obviously, uh, but it's what I said. It's too early to make any critical. It's maybe I don't know. The time will tell us.
Right.
The time will tell us. Um, but I will play him against Aris more games of the playoffs because the league is over.
Right.
So it's like Carvalho and Kitsos' opportunity to show what they have.
Yep.
That's what I think.
I'm with you
And
there.
about Rodrigues, uh, I think a little the same. A little the same. Atalanta wasn't his opportunity. I follow a lot of accounts of Olympiacos, and we could play Rodrigues against Atalanta. Maybe Rodrigues. I didn't think so. I prefer to play Rodrigues in the league, and maybe next year, maybe we can't sell Rodrigues. We can't sell Carvalho. We can't, maybe on loan. They have to stay and see what happens the next year. They have to stay because Carvalho and Kitsos show today that they have the necessary to win a game against a league team.
Right. Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying, and I also hope that they stay too. Well, Kitsos, I don't think it's going to be a problem so much with Kitsos and Carvalho. I think they're staying. Gary, it's about making sure he stays healthy. He's a valuable player for us. He was a winger, the mold of winger we wanted over the summer that maybe we hoped Henry would be. Unfortunately, Henry didn't turn out to be that way. But yeah, I'm with you there. I agree with you there 100%. Now, I do want to get your opinion on your man of the match and your coach's grade today. There's more questions in the chat coming about some other items, maybe not necessarily related to the post match. So we won't spend too much more time on the post match. But I want to know, who was your man of the match? Who was your MVP? Who was the best player for you today? And what grade would you give Coach Martins?
My player, my MVP today was I was going to say Durmisai, but maybe Gary Rodrigues, because he played well and he scored the goal, the real goal today. Mm-hmm. But my top three today was Rodrigues, Carvalho, and El Arabi today. And the coach grade, the changes were good. The game was over, and I don't know how to rate Pedro Martins today. I think the games left are not very important for him, in the way that he's looking for a new club. I'm pretty sure that in summer we will have a post saying thank you so much, Martins. You did a lot for us. Today is a great day, 27th February in 2020. That day, thank you a lot, Martins, but I don't know, maybe Portugal is waiting for you, the Premier League is waiting for you, and he will leave with Agibu, and that's it. Martins doesn't care about the results anymore.
Well, those are some very good takes, very interesting takes. My man of the match today, and I think if I were basing it off of the actual on-field production, and if I were basing it off of the end result, of course, it would have to be Gary Rodrigues. But I'm giving it today to Carvalho because, one, I believe that were both his balls that were sent for the goals that he sent in when the goals got ruled out. He was just something else. He was a great playmaker today, something that we haven't seen much all season. And because of that, I feel like I have to honor that. So I'm going to give Carvalho my man of the match because a lot of what he did caused the field to be opened up. And most people already know I am biased. I played as a 10 and an 8. I'm biased towards midfielders, so I tend to go with them a lot for my man of the match. So I'm definitely giving it to Carvalho. And my coach's grade, I don't think I can't give him an A. I didn't mind the changes necessarily, and we were dominant from the get-go, so I can't. The game plan worked. We should have scored more goals. Alas, we didn't. But we were put in a position to score plenty. We had a lot of opportunities, and that's what I care about. OFI didn't threaten. I was not worried about them, and we played how we expect Olympiacos to play in Greece, especially against a team like OFI. So that's where I sit when it comes to the man of the match and coach's grade. Now, you brought up two very interesting things, Garcia, and I want you to comment. I have two questions for you before I go ahead and let you go here, because I want you to comment on them. And the first thing is, you brought up El Arabi, that he was, one of your top 3 players for today. So I know Costa talked about this briefly. We've talked about this on other shows before, but he played well today, and we saw the old El Arabi's hold up. He was very good coming back to get the ball. helping in build up. So let's assume the league ends today. What do you do with El Arabi? Do you keep or do you dump? And by dump, I mean let go. Remember, we're in the contract renewal. He wants at least a 2 million. We've also seen it said that he actually wanted closer to 3 million a season. So, would you give him 2 million euro a season based on what you've seen so far?
Well, when a big European team uses a goalkeeper for the league competition and other goalkeeper for the European competition, I would keep El Arabi for the league, but dump him for the European competition.
Mm-hmm.
El Arabi
Interesting.
now, it's the kind of player of I don't know, the player that plays the league, but not the Europa League. But if I had to choose keep or dump, uh, it's the same question as always. Who would you sing? Who would you bring in replace? I don't know, but he's old.
Well,
When he was playing here in Granada, in Spain, he was old at
yeah.
that moment. Now he's 34, and uh, Costa said the other day that Olympiacos it's a launcher for some players and uh, a grave for others. I think it's the second for Al Arabi. We need more players that maybe consider Olympiacos as a launcher
Right.
because
The
Adibu
yep.
is young. We have Fadiga, Keita. Uh, we need, I think, we more fresh blood. So I would dump El Arabi.
You would dump. Now, let me ask you, because you did bring up Costa. Costa did bring up that this club acts as a launch pad. Some players come here to take a step up in their career. Some players, it's like they're not doing too well. They're kind of down on their dumps, and they need a club to revitalize their career. And other players, they just come here to end their career. Now, let me ask you: is there an amount of money that you would be willing to pay to keep El Arabi? So let's say, you know what? Okay, he's willing to say he won't accept 2 million. He's willing to not take 2 million. Would you offer him? Would you be willing to keep him for 1 million or 1.5?
For El Arabi, if I have to keep him, mm, I wouldn't pay more than 1.75.
1 point. Okay, so there you go. So that's kind of your sweet spot there. 1.75, you would keep him.
So yeah, between 1.5 and 2 million.
Okay, that is that's I love that opinion. I like to see where people are with El Arabi because it's been a very interesting conversations. Now, my second question for you. So the first one was about El Arabi. The second one is about Martins. Now, you brought up that you're okay with Martins leaving over the summer. You think he wants a bigger club. Now, he did sign a 2-year extension. So the question is at this point, do you think he stays or does he go? Now, remember, the question I'm asking you is, do you think he will stay? Do you think he will actually stay, or do you think he'll be in a position to leave? Not necessarily if you want him.
Well, I think he wants.
Pedro Martins is here. He's listening to you. He wants to keep El Arabi. We keep good gun from Pedro Martins here.
Well, pay attention. I think he wants to leave, but the thing is, Marinakis like him,
Mm-hmm.
and when Marinakis likes a coach, uh, he stays for a long time. But with Martins, I think something similar with Carvalho, and it's his team, his previous team. Martins came from the Portuguese league, and I don't think that we need a top class coach. Well, we actually need. Pedro Martins, for me, it's like he has the level to coach Brighton, or maybe he's like a good starter coach for the new project of Newcastle.
Mhm.
Maybe, but back to the question. I think he wants to leave, but I think he still have the chance to stay because of the Marinakis money. But
Yeah, Pedro Martins here says, I'm not going. He's not going.
that's because Marinakis talked to him before this.
Well, Garci, I want to thank you so much for answering my questions, giving me your opinions for the match and your man of the match and coach's grade today. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate you joining, and we look forward to having you on here again, buddy.
Thanks to you always.
Thank you. Now, guys, if you haven't seen it already, I dropped the link in there again. You want to come up here? I'm going to have the same questions for you. Look, I'm going to ask you the same thing. I want your man of the match and coach's grade when you get on board. I'm also going to ask you the same question. Would you keep El Arabi? Would you dump him? Do you think Martins leaves or goes? We'll get going here for another, 10, 15 minutes before we get closing. But if anybody wants to come on, share their thoughts, please come on. Everyone here that says their English isn't so good, everybody says that. You come on here and you speak perfect English. It's amazing. Everyone here is always so humble when it comes to their grasp of the English language. We had a couple comments here that I want to go back and touch on. From ASG7, the team needs quality players at left and right back, 2 wingers, 1 good center midfield, and 1 striker. Players that are ready to play with ambition and skills. Well, I'll say this. I know some people don't want Oleg anymore. They want him out. I don't necessarily agree. I think Oleg has a place on this team. Is it as a starter? If he can compete. But I think it goes without saying that he needs somebody else there to compete with, whether it's Kitsos or a top tier left back, or somebody that's more ready. I'm ready to give Kitsos a shot, personally. But with the right back, yeah, I think right back, we need to blow up that position. Thrylos, I believe Martins even said Thrylos is not in the plans. Vrusai, I don't know if Vrusai is going to be a thing going forward. We're seeing him play right back. Maybe that's a thing we stick with going over the summer. I don't know. But for sure, right back is a position that we've got to do something about. Karbovnik was supposed to be an option there, or left back. We didn't see him play either one of those places. He did play midfield, though, for the B team the other day. If you guys listen to the deep dive, I brought up that he was a great midfielder. Apparently, Ariali Bagaza sees that for the B team, but we're not going to comment too much further on that. Regarding ASG's other points, 1 good center mid and 1 striker and 2 wingers, he said. Well, for sure, Onyekuru's gone, so we have to replace Onyekuru. But then the question is, if we replace Onyekuru with 1 good winger, Rony Lopez isn't coming back, so we probably need another winger after that too. I hope that we now understand the profile of winger that we need. We need the profile of winger, the type that are like Masuras. They work hard, they make the runs that are needed, and they also can go back. Maybe they don't have to be the fanciest, but workhorses. But then we also need a winger that's direct and can make something from nothing. It's too much, I think, for us to expect another Podenza. We were really lucky to get him. But at the very same time, we do need somebody, maybe somebody similar to Gary, or maybe what we thought Rony Lopez would be. Something like those are the profile of winger we need. So that's what I hope we go for. Center mid, guys. I don't. We have a really good center mid that's been training with the first team for 2 years now, and that's been playing fantastic with the B team. I brought him up so many times. Some of you think it's weird because it almost sounds like I'm fawning over him, which I'm not. He's just a great player. Vasilis Surlis. I would rather call him up than sign another mid, to be perfectly honest with you. If we sell Madi, okay, maybe we have to buy another one. But Koundé moves on, I'd rather call up Vasily. I don't want to sign another player. He is a really good player and he is ready for the first team. I don't want to sign another center mid. Striker. If I personally, I don't see El Arabi accepting less money. He's going to get more money elsewhere. He's at the twilight of his career. He wants to cash in while he can. We're not paying him $2 million. Not with the performances that we've seen this season. He's not getting $2 million. There's no way. Whether he accepts less, maybe 1.5 or 1.25 or something like that, I don't think he will. I don't see it likely that El Arabi stays, which means we have Tiquinho and we need another striker. I would prefer to roll the dice and see how Pinakas does. That's going to be what summer training is for. Then maybe if it doesn't work out over the summer, we don't like what we see, we sign a striker. But I don't want to just haplessly sign a striker if El Arabi's gone. And then we're stuck with somebody. We need another profile of striker that can hold the ball up. We know Pinakas can hold the ball up. Maybe not as well as El Arabi, but he can do it. And Tiquinho's hold-up play isn't like it's that bad either. And Tiquinho can surely score 20 goals in Greece. He scores more in Europe already than El Arabi did. So I think I don't think I would be too quick to sign a striker at the very least. Not anytime soon. We have another person ready to join us. Well, boys and girls, we have CJ Lyaskos here. CJ, what's going on, buddy?
Not much. How are you doing?
Hey, I can't complain, man. I was happy with the game today. They played better. It's
They
OFI,
did.
I know, but you know what? I'm going to take my wins where I get them.
Yeah, definitely. It's a bit too late, but I mean, we should take all the positives we can.
Yep. Well, listen, CJ, I'm going to ask you the same questions that I asked Garci. So first, give me your man of the match and coach's grade for the day.
Well, I only watched like this 12-minute highlight video, but from what I saw, El Arabi played very well.
He
from
did.
What I could tell.
Way better than we've
Gary
seen most of the
Rodrigues.
season.
I'm not going to go much into the man of the match because I didn't really watch the game, but coach grade, I really like the lineup. Maybe a B.
Maybe a B? There you go. There you go. You're honest. You're honest at least. So next question. El Arabi, keep or dump?
It's biased because I really, really like El Arabi. I think he's been one of the best strikers we've had, especially in a while, maybe since Mitroglou. I'd like to keep him, but for the money and at the age he is, I'm not too sure. I would like to see him stay, but
you're not paying $2 million. You're not paying $2 million to keep him another season.
No. I would like to see him stay.
But how much money? How much would you give him? How much would you be willing to pay him to see him stay?
If he'd be happy with maybe a 1.2, but even then, the performances this season haven't been worth it.
I hear you. Look,
because
for me,
if Tiquinho's doing that and more, let's keep him.
Mm-hmm.
Because his hold-up play against Atalanta, at least in the first half, was unreal. It was really good.
Yep.
Really good. If he can be performing like that, then I have no doubt we should stick with Tiquinho.
Yeah. Look, listen, I'm right there with you. The reason El Arabi got that money, and I always have to remind everybody, is that not only was he scoring a lot, but he was also producing and creating a lot. When you only can score, but you're not able to hold up the ball or you're tripping up our possession, then you're basically Hassan. And are you giving Hassan 2 million? I don't think so. You know what I mean? So, and I don't mean to be mean to either one, especially Hassan. They both did great things for this club. I'm just pointing out, it's not, the value proposition isn't there at his age. You know, it's all performance based. If he does the same performance, he gets the money, but he didn't. So for me, I'm not giving him, 1.5 would be my max offer, and it's, that's where I would go with that. Now, my second question, the third question rather, and this one is about Pedro Martins. Do you think he stays or goes this season? Remember, he signed a 2-year extension, and but a lot of people still think he's leaving. Many people said that it was about keeping the locker room tight. What do you make of that? Do you think he stays or goes this season?
I like him. I would like him to stay. Again, what he did with the team the first 2 seasons, I can't remember if it was the first or second, but the season we got knocked out to that, I think it was Dinamo in Europa League.
Correct.
And obviously, the one we got now knocked out by Wolves. Those 2 seasons, like, as a fan, you just felt how tight and close that team was. The season after that, I felt it going backwards, and this season even more.
Yeah.
I think if something like that is continuing, he should go. But just seeing how he carries on the side, on the pitch, I don't think he intends it. I think just he brought in the wrong players. I think we should still give him a go. Look, we've had some success with him.
Yep.
Obviously in Europa League, like, we went into round of 32, round of 16 a couple of times. Like, I think benefit of the doubt. He's done a lot of good for us. I mean, this season not so much, but benefit of the doubt, I reckon. Give it one more, 2 more.
Oh, that's a very, very interesting take. I like it.
Because it's not as bad as I forgot his name, Ben Hassif.
Hazi, yeah.
Hazi, that one.
Yeah.
That was one of the worst teams I've ever saw. One of the worst seasons. Taki Lemoni was just chucked in the deep end, but we should have kept him until the end of the season. But I think that's when we got Pedro as well. So.
Yeah, we got Pedro at the end of the season. It was the total rebuild. Over 40 people, over 40 players made their way out of the club in some way, shape, or form. Absurd amount of players that were,
it was ridiculous,
that exited. But yeah, no, that's a lot of people kind of see it as, look, we're ready for change. It's been regressing for 2 years. The right players haven't been brought in. I am not so gung-ho about him leaving, because the way I see it is, this season is different if we have 2 competent wingbacks. Look, Oleg has competition or somebody to relieve him, and we actually bring in a right back. I think this is a different season, and almost entirely. There's still some holes. There were still some things that needed to change. We still didn't have a really creative player, unfortunately, a really creative number 10. But I think if we do that, I think we see at least some better performances. But you were 100% right when you brought up those first 2 seasons. We were all dreamers. We all were like, man, we could have done better. Like, we played well. There was further to go. Against Atalanta, I thought we were fortunate to have gotten out of the group stage in the manner that we did with the performances we had, but I didn't believe we deserved to win against Atalanta or go forward. Like Costa said, Costa's like, this is Conference League level right now. That's what we are. And that's the state of the team this year. It's sad. We're undefeated in Greece, and we were playing like shit for most of the season. It speaks for itself.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. Like, the loss with Atalanta, I knew it was coming, but it was also hurtful because just seeing the position where we're at, we didn't capitalize after that second season with Pedro. Once Podence left, then obviously Omar, Tsimikas left. Like, we didn't capitalize. Like, we should have replaced them better than we did. Like, Reapchuk, wasn't a fan of him at the start, but I do have a soft spot for the guy. But I don't know if it's obviously he's exhausted as all hell, but I don't know if he's going to be that left back that we need. I don't want him in the club. Just that mistake against Atalanta just summed up everything. He had possession of the ball.
Yeah.
He had it. And I was like, we somewhat kept our shape in the first maybe 30 minutes, because before the game I said, it's going to be over by halftime. And even though it was 1-0, we all knew it was over.
Yep. Listen. Well, you know what? Actually, there's an interesting question that popped up here that before I let you go, I want you to answer, because Platon Papas just brought up an interesting question. Would you mind risking the loss of 1 to 2 championships in exchange for a really good run in Europe? Now, Platon, also define what you think a really good run in Europe. For me, it's a semifinal or final.
Yeah.
So would you risk the title for 1 to 2 years?
100%. 100%.
If it's a guarantee, of course.
We have 46, 47?
40,
Is this year going to be our 48?
I think it's 47 this year. Yeah.
Who gives a shit if we don't get it? Bulk went undefeated. No one talks about it.
Yeah. No, Costa brought that up too. Nobody in like major leagues or other areas cares about invincibles in Greece.
Yeah, like if someone, I don't know, from the heavens came down and said, Olympiacos are going to finish 3rd or 2nd and lose in extra time in the semi-final in Europa League. Yeah, 100%.
Well,
100%, because
the caveat is we do need to win the league to get into Champions League.
Well,
because you don't get
because Viali Kimunde Orthi. So forget about it. But that loss against Wolves was hurtful, and the other one that sticks out for me was Bordeaux. Do you remember in 2011?
Yeah, that was I thought earlier than that though. Well, it was 2010. Was it 2009, 2010?
That was when Shamak was like.
Yeah, Marwin Shamak. God, I remember that. I was in a pizza parlor watching that game.
Oh my God, the fact that we got knocked out to that guy.
Oh my God, yeah. Enzo Maresca, I remember that header that he missed. Oh, gross. You had
that Mitroglou goal, can't complain.
Yep. Well, CJ, thank you so much for joining me, man.
No worries. It's been good, and on Instagram being in touch, because I'm the man behind all the Hassans and Pedros and Onyakuros.
Oh, you unmasked yourself, boys and girls. Every time you see the Hassan and the Pedro Martins, that's CJ here. He's been doing it the whole time. It's unmasked now.
I try to do it as much because I am in Australia, so the time difference. It's currently 9:36 a.m. here. So
that's later than I expected. Wow. Usually it's like 6 a.m. Well, we also went a little late today, so that
went a little late, but
there you go.
Good. Nice chatting, Adi.
Thank you, CJ. Thank you for joining us.
See you later.
See you. Well, as we begin to wrap up, boys, there's a couple other points here that I wanted to touch on. First was from ASG7 again. I agree with you. I want Oleg too, but I cannot accept that in this team, Kitsos and Thrylos have played together less minutes than Androutsos. Come on, coach. Give them more time to evaluate them. Yeah, listen, we could beat this with a dead horse. You are 100% right. We all want that. We all want them playing more. And I think it's unacceptable. These guys are ready to play for the first team. Kitsos especially. You don't say, listen, you don't say that this is Project Nutsimikas. You don't say that. You don't do that and not give the kid time. I hope he gets more time. I hope Thrylos sees more time too. We'll see what happens. But at the very least, Kitsos needs to see time if he's going to be our staple at left back. Now, Tute Latut brought up a very interesting comment here. I was wondering if you saw Karapapas's comments after the Atalanta game about people undermining winning the Greek league. I did. Now, if anybody has a graphic of it so I can throw up, I'm going to base what I'm saying off of my memory if I remember what he's saying correctly. And basically what Carapapa said was a lot of people that are making critiques about us, now that we're out and just all we have is the league again to win. He basically said that a lot of what's being said isn't helpful, and it only hurts the team. A lot of what's being said. And there were a couple of reasons. He had brought up that Atalanta is one of the favorites to win the whole competition, the Europa League competition. Now, guys, I'm summarizing here. He brought up that they have a budget, or they're worth 400 million euros. They have a much bigger value than we are, much bigger budget than we do. So it was going to be difficult for us to progress anyway. The second thing he brought up too was we've been playing continuously. The team's been playing basically 2.5 years without a break. So a lot of players can't keep up the tempo that we were used to from the first 2 seasons. He also brought up Ike and Balk, that they are, have the largest budgets that they've, and we, of course, be saying we've all had like our biggest budgets. Ike and Balk, look what they're doing. So, and he did make a post basically saying that a lot of people are damaging or undermining, as Tutelatute said, winning the league. Now, some of what he said, I understand. I do understand what he's saying. Atalanta is worth, Garcia brought it up, they're worth at least 3 times what we are. They're almost €500 million valued club. They've got players worth more than our roster. Okay. I get that. And I understand that. But if you guys remember when we played against Manchester City last year, we played better against a team that has an over €1 billion valuation. That team is literally worth more. Every player on that team is worth probably almost as much, if not more, than our squad. Okay. But we had a better showing against them. So I understand that part about them being worth more. I get it. But when you see how we played against Bayern Munich, against Tottenham, that's what the fans are talking about. They're spending money, and they're spending money correctly. And we did have the biggest budget this year. We've brought it up multiple times. This is the most money we've spent on wages for players in our history, or at the very least under the Marinakis regime. I can't speak for what the exact budgets were under Kokali. So again, I'm understanding, but it does feel like an excuse because we have played better against better. Not to say Atalanta's not a great team, but we've played better teams at better stages. So I don't necessarily fully accept that, although I understand it. The part about Ike and Balk, I could give 2 shits about what Balk and Ike do. They don't have a European mentality. And of course they've squandered money and haven't done anything with it. Okay, great. I don't care. I don't care about Ike and Balk. This is Olympiacos, and we have a standard. We've set ourselves at a standard. We believe ourselves to be at a standard above Greece. So I don't care what they do. Now, regarding the 2.5 years straight of playing without a break, he's right. He's right. We haven't had a break. And that's understandable. COVID's hurt this team a couple times. Understandable. But we are not the only team that's dealt with it. Every team in Europe has dealt with this, guys, not just us. So I'm understanding of everything he said. He's not wrong, but we've heard this now for 2 years. It does feel like an excuse. Not that I'm saying what he's saying is wrong or illogical. There's plenty of logic to it. But this club needs to recognize that it hasn't made great decisions this year. That's just it. Little introspective look. We haven't made a lot of great decisions. We haven't. A couple more things before we close up here, guys. From Yorgos Pap. Hello, guys. I'm wondering, is it so hard to renew El Arabi? This guy deserves to be in Olympiacos. I mean, we gave $5 million to sign Onyekuru. It's unfair not to respect this player. Same with Omar. Look, The Omar and the Onyekuru thing are two Omar and the El Arabi are two different situations. I believe we should have given Omar the money. I didn't think it was too much for him to be asking, especially because he was our captain. His performances were down, but I think we should have given him the money because he was our captain. That's how, as a player and with the performances, no, he wasn't worth the extra money he wanted for wages. But as the captain of the team and somebody that was holding the locker room together, he deserved that money. I will say that about Omar. And we bid it because of it. We ended up going for value in a veteran like Rafinha. Martins trusted him, and look what happened to us. Onyekuru, I'm not going to begin to understand what was really, really behind that. I'm not, because I can't explain it. I didn't want that transfer. I did a deep dive on it. I thought it was dumb. I thought it was too risky, and I was right. But with El Arabi, again, we're going to go back to what I call the value proposition, right? El Arabi is getting older, which means, and you've seen it on the field, he doesn't move as much as when he first came. And he was old coming into this club, or he was what we would consider old. But we paid him. Based on his performance. And he performed very well. That's why he got the money. And he got the money, no questions asked. But this year, the performance hasn't been as good. And he has struggled in Europe. Let's not forget that. He has had his struggles in Europe. Tiquinho scores more in Europe. His hold-up play isn't as good as El Arabi. But it becomes a value proposition. Do we change our number one if El Arabi doesn't want less money? If I am Marinaki, I'm not giving him $2 million. If he's willing to accept 1.5, 1.25, 1.5, I'll pay him. But with what we saw this year, that $2 million isn't it. Guys, $2 million is a lot of money. That's the most money we spend for a player. If I'm not mistaken, there's only one player that makes more than $2 million. It might be Jan Villa. I believe he came in on a $2.5 million, including bonuses, deal. I could be mistaken. But $2 million's at the top. Kostas Fortounis makes $2 million. He might not even make $2 million. So you have to really, really be a top producer to make that. And El Arabi wasn't doing that this year. We don't just pay him to score goals. We were paying him because of his build-up play. And he didn't offer the build-up most of the season. So it's really tough for me to give the guy $2 million. It really is. 1.5, I keep him. 2, I don't know if I can do it. 1.5 plus bonuses so that he can get there, I'd be open to that. But that's where I stand. And I think that's where the front office stands as well. That's why we're not giving him the money. Trust me, the respect is there for the player. No one doubts that he's one of the best strikers that we've seen at this club. But it's becoming a value proposition. Regarding the Omar discussion, Manos G7 said, well, we gave almost the same money for Rafinha, so yes, we should have renewed Omar. Yeah. Look, hindsight killed us there. We thought we were getting something better he also was getting a lot more money in Turkey. More than what we offered too, by the way. So that was also part of it. And then also these unstoppable 2 seasons also damaged Yusef's performance this year, unfortunately. Yeah, maybe he's coming back to earth. I could see that. That's entirely possible. If you're asking me, I want to go back to that Platon Papas question before we load up. If I would risk losing 1 to 2 championships in exchange for a good run in Europe, if we could still qualify with Champions League, if it was like it used to be, I might consider it. But right now, because we have to win the championship just to get into Champions League, yes. I mean, sorry, no, I'm not risking that. We can't. And I don't think we necessarily have to build a team for that. I think as long as we're building a team that's competitive for Europe, we win the league by default, as you guys have seen. Last thing before we close up from Kosti Tsak. So you would keep Tiquinho, and what striker would you go with him? So Kosti, I brought this up earlier. If El Arabi isn't willing to take the pay cut, which I don't think he will, because we've been hearing he's getting big offers from the Middle East. If he cares about money, he's going to go there to take the money. If he's not willing to take the pay cut, Tiquinho's the number one. And over the summer for training, I'm giving a look at Pinakas. I'm seeing how he does. Martins doesn't like him. I go buy a striker. And we start taking a look around. Maybe Zahavi. Tiquinho is probably going to be around for a couple more years. Maybe we look at Zahavi. We already talked about possibly doing a pre-contract. We'll see what happens with that. But there's value we can get. There's value we can get, and we'll see what happens. But assuming El Arabi doesn't take the pay cut, Tiquinho's the starter, I give Pinakas a shot. See what he does. And if he doesn't work out in summer, then I'm looking for a striker. That's how I approach. So thank you guys for hanging out as always. Rolled solo today. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you, CJ. Thank you, Garci, for joining the pod. Guys, if you haven't done so already, there's a mission for all of you. And the mission is to help us grow this community. Hit the subscribe button. Accept the mission. And that's just step one. Step two is actually growing it. Get your buddies in here. Get them to join the conversation as well. Do that and help us make this the community that Olympiacos deserves. Thank you again, boys and girls. It was a pleasure again. And until next time, as always, this is Gate 7 International. By the fans, for the fans. We'll see you next time.
You just listened to an episode of the Gate 7 International Podcast, a podcast connecting Olympiacos fans from Brussels to Tokyo, from Toronto to Geneva. We are 4 Olympiacos fans from every corner of the world, bringing you news and interviews of the team you love in English. With new episodes twice a week, you'll never miss out on the latest updates and stories of the team you love. If you liked what you heard, make sure to follow us on social media at Gate7INTL. Give us a subscribe on YouTube or even leave a review on all our podcast channels. Until next time, this is our team, our city and our story. Thrylos είσαι, στο μυαλό